Y'all, this is really something I should be used to. I mean, I've been in this industry for a very, very long time, but it still shocks me. So, this is what happens. A lot of times in my business, I'm kind of still in shock about it and trying to explain. A lot of times in my business, I do meetings, I do a whole lot of things with people of the opposite sex. You know, I don't have any intentions with anybody. I am not that type of person. I am actually very turned off by anyone who's in my industry and you're not being straightforward with me if we're having conversation, if we're discussing business and your how do they say, like, if basically like your intention is different than mine. I'm not really one who gets down like that. I'm very much a out of the industry, or out of, should I say, TV and film industry, or not involved with actors, not involved with anybody like that. Usually it's not what I'm there for. I'm there for work. So when I have meetings with people who are of the opposite sex, I I try my best to just be professional, and I try my best, if I'm even getting signals that they may have interest, if they're not, say, man enough to say that, I'm I'm ignoring it. I'm going to ignore it because that's not what I want. And in this country, which is still like a free country, I make the decision as long as the other person. No one dictates to me just because they may have interest that I'm going to have interest, because if you're doing that, I'm already turned off, and that's not something I do. So recently this kind of situation, happened again, and it just really irritates me. And I just feel like this. One, if you are hanging around a person like me who, and I'm not being braggish, but it's like I have my own success. I've cultivated my own life, which is pretty good most of the time. I've, owned my own home. I've owned my own condo. Nobody paid for that but me. I've had fancy cars. I've done all the things. But that doesn't impress me. And it doesn't impress me if someone, especially, has no idea. For me, hold on a second. For me, somebody's walking past me and I don't want to be rude. For me, basically get to know me. Because if you get to know me, then you would know what impresses me. And guess what? If you did business with me and you really took it seriously, and we really did good business together, and we really had a great working relationship, then maybe after that, then I might be interested, but at the end of the day, probably not. I really don't mix a lot of my personal business with who I go out with. I prefer it to be someone fun or someone that does not do what I do. Then I haven't dated actors in, I can't even tell you how long, because I like to be taken seriously on the job. I like to take people seriously on the job. I don't like nobody trying to say like, oh, I don't want to hear all of that. So I kind of keep it separate. But it does not only disappoint me, but just make me just want to roll my eyes and block you when I'm trying to do business and you haven't said, oh, I like you, because you maybe somebody's not bold enough to say that, so they're just doing little stupid hints. Like, that's irritating. Like, man up. Anybody probably around me is going to be over 35, 40. Man up if that's the case. And then find out from me, from my mouth, if I'm interested or not, and then also deal with that. Just like I would. Like, if I like somebody and they had the balls, well, if I felt like going and telling them, I'm going to tell them. And if they're not interested, I'm going to move on with my day, because that does not mean that, that person or that individual is not amazing. That does not mean that I'm not amazing. It just means that we're not interested in each other, and that should be okay. What I really don't like is disrespect. And as a woman who has done a lot of those things and cultivated my own success, if you play with my business, I am not going to respect you. If you play with me and think it's going to be cool because you tried to flirt and you didn't get your way, so now you're going to try to retaliate, yeah, you're blocked. You're blocked. Because we've got to be grown and way more grown than that, and get on with the business side of things. How are we going to make money as a race if, one, the only way I can make money is just with one race or women, which is big office. Look, that would be awesome if everybody I work with was just women. That would be awesome, but that's not reality. So if we're trying to do business together as human beings, I'm trying to do business. If I ain't said nothing about trying to do anything else or tried to touch your leg or do any signals, then you got to know I'm here for business. And again, I just have no respect for anyone who takes it unseriously. And that's just like the ultimate like turn off if that's the case. We've got to keep the business. And if we are on a journey to do something other than that, cool. But if I tell you, no, if I don't even say anything about it being anything else, you should just know that it's straight business and learn how to deal with that. And if you feel like you're being rejected, you should be man enough to just admit that you really didn't ask me properly, number one. And two, that maybe I'm not interested, and that should be okay. So, how do y'all navigate this type of stuff, ladies, and even men? Because, I know you guys are in workplace too. But for me, I'm just like, I just got to block you for now. Like, I don't have any other conversation if that's how you're going to approach it. What are y'all thoughts?